Folks, I don't know if you can see this, but I've got my camera pointed at the stars here. You probably can't. But I want to talk about, this is late at night. This is about, I don't know, 2:45 a.m. And I'm just out here looking at the stars and I have a few revelations that just came to me about what's going on in Israel. And I thought I'd just share it with you. You know, you can really determine more so now than ever before. I would say that this is probably it with a lot of things, but you know, as far as when people side with these terrorists and when they say things against Israel, you know, and if they say they're Christians, or if they say something along the lines of they're not taking sides, that it's, too complicated to take sides, and, you can really determine what side they're actually on. Because God told Abraham, He told Abraham that I will bless those that bless you and curse that curse you. And God, and we know that Abraham was God's friend, and that Abraham was and is the father of Israel. And so we know that as Christians, we are supposed to support Israel. No matter what happens, even in our own country, we are supposed to support Israel. That is our duty as Christians. And if we don't do that, then we are reaping a curse upon ourselves. And I just have been watching the news and some sources, tonight. And, well, there's a lot of people that I listen to get news, but some of these people aren't Christians, and or some of these people say they're Christians, but they've said things like, I'm not taking sides, and I'm not going to get into the middle of it, and I'm going to be objective about it, and I don't want to pick sides between Israel and Hamas. And yet they want to report the news as if they are being objective, yet they can't, see that, they're blind, and they're willfully blind if they've not accepted Christ, but they've basically, said that they don't want to get in the middle of it, that they want to report the news without, choosing a team. But, by saying that, we know what team you're on. You're on the team of the enemy, because apathy is the enemy of faith. People want to say that, unbelief is the enemy of faith, but apathy is really the enemy of faith, because apathy does produce unbelief, but it also produces, a sense of, no responsibility, for your actions or the actions of others, and it makes you morally irresponsible with everything. So, I just wanted to talk about that, as you really can see whose side people really are on when they talk on the news about this, and of course we know that people can say they're on one side and secretly not be on that side, and just be playing that side like, like a scandalous person maybe. But when it comes to this, I do believe that this is a time in which we are truly seeing who's for God and who isn't. because as Christians, we need, it is our duty and it is a requirement for us to be for Israel no matter what happens. And I've heard so many things on the news and, about people again saying, well, I don't want to, get in the middle of it. I don't want to, start saying that I'm on this side or that side. I'm just going to try to report the news as is. But like when you have terrorists coming in and killing children and beheading and, stabbing and shooting innocent civilians just because they're Jewish, just because they're God's people, that to say that you're not going to take a side, that is so morally irresponsible, and it really shows you that you're on the side of the devil, because the world needs to realize that this is wrong. And a lot of people are just the amount of evil, and they make it seem like they're being objective again. They make it seem like they're being objective by saying they're not going to pick a side, but it really just shows. It's like by you not picking a side, you really just you show me what side you're on, and it's we are at the end. This is it, guys. This is where we go home. And I'm just sitting up here on my porch looking at the heavens and just looking at the stars that God made, and to know that soon, we're gonna leave this world. Because guess what this administration has done to Israel, unfreezing $6 billion for Iran. Now they have done, this administration has done the unthinkable. They have empowered Palestine and Hamas and all of Israel's enemies in such an unthinkable way, and then they told Israel that they have to divide their land with their known enemy. And they literally have sealed the fate. This administration has sealed the fate of this country. They are a wicked and perverse leadership. They are antichrists. I mean, they have the spirit of antichrist in them. And they have doomed this nation. And we see in history where whenever someone bullies God's people, whenever Israel is in danger and Israel is attacked and savagely ransacked and ravaged, beyond recognition, we see what God does to Israel's enemies. I mean, if you look at the remains of Sodom and Gomorrah, where it used to be or where it is, but what's left of it, it's nothing but an ash, a sea of ash with sulfur balls. God burned it to the ground. We look at the days of Noah, God flooded the earth, in which only 8 people survived. All the animals, everything went instantly extinct. God destroyed it all. And that's what's coming to America. People want to say God is not a loving God if he judges people, or if he, brings the hammer down. But just like they always want to use the Canaanites as a poor excuse, for an example. But they don't realize is that God gave the Canaanites 400 years to stop their murderous, child sacrificing ways. That 400 years is a long time for God to be long suffering towards child murderers. And when God said it was time, when he had had enough, all the Canaanites were wiped out. And when God has had enough, when God has said this is it, I've had enough. God is an all loving God, he is, but God is also an all 100% God of justice. And when judgment time comes, and this nation has, God was long suffering towards the woke stuff. He was long suffering towards the transgender stuff. He hated it, and there is a judgment coming for that very soon. But if there's one thing that you don't do, if you want to see your nation destroyed instantly, then there's one thing that you know, and that is to mess with Israel, to betray Israel, to hurt Israel. You want to see your nation get wrecked? Mess with Israel. That's how your nation gets wrecked, because God will wreck your nation. God will wreck you, and that's what's coming for America. Is they have triggered God. They have triggered a response from God. When God is long suffering with us, but don't think for a second that if we start mistreating the Jewish people, that if we as a person on a personal basis start mistreating the Jewish people, or start taking sides with terrorists, don't think for a second that God won't judge you. Because he will. God takes the nation of Israel very seriously, and like I said, with everything else, God has been patient, past tense, but that patience is done, and we could be raptured, possibly with this week, and and I'm just out here and I'm just talking to you guys. It's not necessarily, I'm not in front of the computer and, trying to be somewhat professional about it. I'm just out here talking to you guys, and, but everything I've said, I mean, and I mean when I said, this nation is done. This is it, and I've even seen some pastors online talk about, some pastors that I trust, that I'm not going to name the names per se, but, and by the way, I'm very sensitive to doctrine. I believe the Bible. We are once saved, always saved. Okay. I believe that God is, he speaks to us through his word. I do not believe in the charismatic movement. I do not believe in all of that nonsense. I used to be a part of that nonsense, and so when I came out of it, I was very, very much sensitive to true doctrine and trying to search out true biblical doctrine. So I am very sensitive to, what is being taught, and and I am hypersensitive to false teaching. Like, I can smell false teaching from a mile away. So I don't just listen to anybody, but some of the pastors that I have listened to, I don't follow them all the time, but I do listen to them on occasion. And, they've said some things that are very like, I'm like, why would you say that? It's like, just like they're not taking this thing seriously. Like, they don't really understand how serious this is, and I think a big part of it is that they don't want to leave, and so they're trying to downplay this because they've got a big ministry, and they're probably, they go to Europe, it seems like every month they go to Europe, and or they go somewhere else, and I'm not knocking any of that. I'm not saying that that's wrong to go to another part of the country and preach a sermon. I'm not saying that's wrong, but when it's like all the time, You got a bunch of money, and then you say things like, you just downplay everything. It makes it seem to me that you don't want to leave this earth. Like you're too bought and sold by the things that you've gotten. The God's word says that a man's life does not consist in the abundance of things which he possesses. Our lives are not the importance of our lives does not depend on the amount of things that we have. And there's a lot of Christians right now. The church as a whole is pretty much asleep, and they may see that what's going on is wrong. And they may side with Israel. They may even side with Israel, which is a good thing, but that's about it. They don't understand what's really happening, and the church is asleep. Satan has successfully blinded the church, and it's a willful blindness. Like we, as the church, they allowed it to happen. They got too caught up with the things of this world, and they don't want to let go. And so when major things like this happen, it's like they just don't want to let it go. And I just can't listen to those people, because it's like it's sad. It's sad to see that, because I'm ready to go, guys. This is an evil world. This is an evil, evil world. And as I find it, I don't find it strange per se, but I have noticed that, and when I say this, it's not strange, because, I'm used to it. I know why it happens. But like when you walk into a store, for me, when I walk into a store, it's like people somehow knew that I was going to walk. Like they instantly stare at me. Like I'm not paranoid. I'm not, any of those things, but I can just see that, like, the demons inside of people. Like, I'm not saying everybody's possessed, but I'm saying that there are a lot of demons and a lot of lost people right now. And they can honestly sense, like, the spirit in us. And, like, if you're at a drive-through, like, you get your food and the cashier just stares at you, and it's like, do I got something on my face, And they just continue to stare at you. And it's not like they got distracted type of stare. It's like I know what you are, basically, kind of stare. And, I just see that everywhere I go. It's just kind of like, this world, they can, the people in this world, they can have it all. And by the way, guys, I don't really want to, I don't feel like I have to apologize by this, but I'm going to apologize. Anyway, I'm sorry, guys, if I talk kind of fast on my posts, on my videos. I just get really excited, and I also try to cram a lot of information in, because I have a certain amount of time on my recording program. So, there's that. So I just want to, kind of say that, sorry about that, if that distracts you or whatever. But anyways, so guys, we are so close to going home. And also one more thing before I go. I find it funny how there are so many people in the comments, not necessarily my comments. There might be a few, but I've seen on other people's videos, other Watchmen videos, where people are like, we just gotta pray, that things get turned around, and we gotta pray that, for peace, and we shouldn't be scared. And I'm thinking, who's scared? I'm not scared. I'm excited. And they say, well, we gotta pray to turn this around. Like, I'm all for praying for the families of Israel, 100%. Don't get me wrong. I am 100% I have been praying for Israel myself. Okay. I have, that is, yes, that is of high importance to pray, but to pray for this, for all of this to end, um, it's just kind of like you're praying for God's will to end, because all of this has to come to pass. I'm not, again, I am saying pray for the individual Jewish people who are being so, you know, violently harmed in all of this. Pray for them individually, but, the things that are happening in this world, all of it, um, it's like you're trying to pray God's will away. This is God's will. This is the plan of God. We are at the end, guys. So your prayers aren't really going to do much in that sense, because this is already set in stone. Individually, yes, pray for people individually, but as far as the things happening in this world, you cannot stop. Nothing can stop what's coming. So I just see that, and I'm just like, well, first of all, who's scared? I'm not scared. All the watchmen that are excited, we're not scared. We are praying for the people of Israel, of course. Of course. And that is, again, that is a requirement that we must do for Israel. Okay? Israel, the Jewish people, are like our distant cousins, okay? They're actually like God's biological children. We as Christians are the adopted ones, okay? We're adopted. Those are God's biological children, okay? So, I mean, yeah. So we definitely need to pray for Israel. But like I said, as far as the events that are unfolding, we can't pray that away. Because that's how it has to be. And it just means that we're that much closer to going home. So anyways, you should be excited. I'm excited. And again, I'm glad that you guys all comment and, follow this channel. I really do appreciate it. And, I appreciate your guys' support. And, I hope you guys have a nice evening or afternoon or morning whenever you're watching this. And hopefully very, very soon, in the coming days, hopefully the next hour will be raptured. So anyways, God bless, and I'll talk to you later.